Vaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1, The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction, text number 38. Mrutyur Janmavatam Veera Mrutyur Janmavatam Veera Dehena Saha Jayate Dehena Saha Jayate Adya Va Abda Shatante Va Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrutyur Vai Pranina Dhruvaha Mrutyur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrutyur Janmavatam Veera Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrutyurvai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrutyur Janmavatam Veera Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrutyurvai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrutyur Janmavatam Veera Dehena Sahajayate Abhyamabda Shatante Va Mrutyurvai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrutyurjanmavatam Veera Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrutyurvai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrutyuho Death Janmavatam of the living entities who had taken birth. Veera, O great hero, Dehena Saha, along with the body, Jayate is born. One who has taken his birth is sure to die. Adya, today, Va, either, Abdashata, of hundreds of years, Ante, at the end, Va, or, Mrutyuhu, death, Why, indeed, Praninam, for every living entity. Dhruvaha is assured. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. O great hero, one who takes birth is sure to die. for death is born with the body. One may die today or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. Please repeat this translation after me. O great hero, one who takes birth is sure to die, for death is born with the body. One may die today or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Vasudeva wanted to impress upon Kamsa that although Kamsa feared dying and therefore wanted to kill even a woman, he could not avoid death. Death is sure. One may, death is sure. Why then should Kamsa do something that would be detrimental to his reputation and that of his family? As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.27, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyerthe natvam shochitum arhasi. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain. And for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. One should not fear death. Rather, one should prepare oneself for the next birth. One should utilize one's time in this human form to end the process of birth and death. It is not that to save oneself from death, one should entangle oneself in sinful activities. This is not good. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vasudeva is trying to save the life of Devaki. Suddenly this omen from the sky declared that Kamsa is going to be killed by the eighth child of Devaki. So immediately Kamsa, being demoniac natured, was ready to kill Devaki. He took out his sword, grabbed her hair, and just when he was about to cut off her head, Vasudeva stopped him. And because Vasudeva was a very respectable personality, Kamsa restrained himself. And Vasudeva tried to speak to Kamsa, how can you do this? So the initial attempt of Vasudeva is to appeal to Kamsa philosophically. Why philosophically has he got to explain this point that death is certain and all these things? Because Kamsa is a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya is an intelligent, belongs to the intelligent class of people in the society. You cannot explain philosophy to a Shudra. The Shudras don't have the developed intelligence, sufficient intelligence to understand philosophy. But a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, and a Vaishya they have sufficient intelligence to understand at least the basic philosophy of life itself, which is given in all the Vedic literature. Therefore, Vedas are meant for the three sections of society, the Brahmana, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. Therefore, Gurukul education system was for these three classes of uh, persons. Shudras, uh, they cannot understand. But that does not mean Shudras are denied the opportunity of practicing Krishna consciousness and advancing spiritually to attain perfection, even though they are having the disadvantage of not having sufficient intelligence to understand this philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So, when Shastras say Shudras are not fit candidates for receiving this knowledge of the Vedic philosophy, then people think that is discrimination. Modern day people at least think like that. It is discrimination. No, it's not discrimination. It's just like you don't admit anybody and everybody into a medical college. Only those who have some aptitude, who have got the ability to study this medical science, only they are admitted. Similarly, those who have the ability to study the Vedas, only they are admitted into the Gurukul. But what is the result of studying these Vedas? That people don't have a proper understanding. The result of studying Vedas is explained here. It is to conquer this repetition of birth and death. This is the fundamental understanding that is lacking in modern society. People don't even know what is death. They think death comes means everything is finished. This is how an animal thinks. Animal only knows it should protect itself from danger, especially from any situation that brings about death. Because death means everything is finished. But a human being should know that death is not the end of life. It is the end of life in this body. But this body, anyway, is temporary. So, Vasudeva is telling Kamsa some very, very basic philosophy of life itself. One who takes birth is sure to die. So, in the context of this particular statement, let us understand what is birth and what is death. In very simple words, Prabhupada has explained this in the Bhagavad Gita, that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. Body is born. So when we enter this body as spirit soul, we enter this body, and that is called birth. And at death, we have to leave this body. Now, leaving body means, that's also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. Right now, in this body, each one of us, we are changing this body. It goes through changes, especially three very, very prominent changes of the body: childhood, youth, and old age. 3 stages in our life. All of us go through these 3 stages: childhood, youth, and old age. So these 3 stages are different uh, changes that take place on the body. And Bhagavad Gita gives us the secret understanding that just like you are changing your body from childhood to youth to old age, yatha asmin dehe yatha kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha, in the same way, dehantara praptihi, at the end of life in this body, that is what is told here, janmavatam adyava abdashatanteva ante. Ante means at the end of life. There is another change of body similar to the change of body that is happening. It is similar in the sense you are getting a new body. But there is a difference also. The change of body is death is different also from the changes that happen to the body in the while we are living in this body. The change that happens when we go from the stage of childhood to youth, the new body we're getting has got resemblance to the old body. So foolishly, ignorantly, we think, oh, this child has now grown up. There is no growth of this body. Why? It's like if I say this table, when it was made new, it was of a particular size. Allow some number of years, it will grow. People will call me mad. Table doesn't grow. Why? Table is dead matter. But this body is not dead matter. That's what we think. Body is different than the table because body has life symptoms. So there is growth in the body. But actually, Bhagavad Gita informs us, this body is also dead matter. At least the gross body that we see changes happening. This body is also dead matter. Then what is this apparent growth that we see is taking place? This growth is actually a new body that has been formed. Just like when you were born, you were given a new body. Exactly like a new body is given at the time of birth, same way when you become a youth, you get a new body. Because the body is different from the soul. That is one thing. Second thing, the youthful body is different from the childhood body. That also you have to accept. You cannot say the same body. What is the ability of a child in its small body? It's so very limited in so many ways. And what is the ability of a youthful person, a young person? Many more abilities. So many changes take place, no, in the body. So those changes that are taking place, because the body is dead matter, it's all new. It's not something old which has become bigger, which has become stronger. Just like they say, if somebody is weak, oh, you should become strong. There's no question of becoming strong. You can't tell this table, now you have to make this table strong. It's the intrinsic strength based on the material you have used. If you used wood, it has got a certain strength. If you use steel, it's got another uh, extent of strength, degree of strength. If you use cardboard, it is not so strong. Similarly, child's body is weak. By construct itself, it is weak. By the way it's made, it's weak as compared to a youthful body. So the body is changing and it's a new body that you are getting. But Maya is so clever. Maya is giving the new body in a very, very clever way. How is this new body obtained? At the cell level, the cells are being replaced. And cell is such a tiny unit of this body. And scientists admit that. Cells are continuously changing. And they even have done research. There are 200 kinds of cells in this body. That is not difficult to understand. Your skin is one type of cell. Your bones are another kind of cell. Your muscles are another kind of cell. Now, even the muscles which are there in the eyelids, that is one kind of tissue. The muscles which are there in the hand, another kind of tissue. So 200 kinds of cells. And each of this kind of cell has got different duration for which they live or exist. Continuously, these cells are dying, if I may use that word. And new cells are continuously being generated. So, what Bhagavatam says, change of body is a fact every moment of your life. Every moment. Every moment there is a change. So, when Bhagavad Gita says, similarly, tatha dehantara prapti, at the end of life also you change body, but that change is a very, 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 very different change. You get a new body which does not have any resemblance to your old body. This difference is there. And you cannot even trace the new body. Where is that new body? You cannot see with these eyes. How the soul leaves the body at death and how the soul enters another mother's womb to get another body after quitting this body at death. That cannot be seen by those who are spiritually ignorant. This is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Every single statement I am telling is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmani avasthitam. Yatantopya kritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasaha. So there are spiritually enlightened persons called yogis, basically devotees. And there are spiritually ignorant people called achetasaha. Their consciousness has not been developed by spiritual practice. So they are spiritually ignorant. Like most people who are not taken to Krishna consciousness, who are not practicing spiritual life. They're all ignorant people. So these ignorant people, they cannot see with these eyes or through the eyes of knowledge. They are unable to see at death A person who is the spirit soul within the body is leaving one body and entering another body. They are unable to see that. But a Krishna conscious person can clearly see that. Can clearly see that. So whenever we devotees go to attend a funeral ceremony, somebody has passed away, somebody has died. So we console the family members. What is it that we console and say? First thing we tell, the person has not died. And Bhagavad Gita assures us, Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. Just like you're wearing clothes, when the clothes become worn out, you discard those clothes and you accept new clothes. Navani grinnati naroparani. Every human being does that. Every person does that. Similarly, when this body becomes old and useless, you give up this body and accept a new body. So, death means giving up the old and useless body and accepting a new body. This is what is death for most people. But for devotees, death means something else. For devotees, death means, because they prepare for this change of body at death, that's what Prabhupada says here. One should prepare oneself for the next birth. Birth is certain, but somebody is going to die. Somebody is born, is sure to die. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyuhu. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says. Prabhupada is quoting that verse here. For one who takes birth, death is certain. Same thing Vasudeva is telling. Mrutyurvai praninam dhruvaha. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyuhu. Same thing is told in the Bhagavad Gita also by Krishna. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. And what happens after death? It is certain that that person who has died, who has quit the body, who has left the body, who's changing body, will get a new body, will take birth again in another body. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. But an intelligent person should question, okay, I'm going to take birth in another body when I die. I leave this body because it has become old and useless. What kind of body I'm going to get? So that depends upon the activities one performs in this life. That was explained in the previous verse. The next body is dependent on the activities we perform in this life. If we practice Krishna consciousness, we are going to get a spiritual body. Not get a spiritual body, we already have. We are spirit soul. That means spirit soul means spiritual form, spiritual body. So already that spiritual body is there. It is in an undeveloped state right now. Undeveloped state. Therefore, for all our activities, because the spiritual body is in an undeveloped state, we are utilizing this material body that we have. Otherwise, if we are spiritually developed, we don't require this material body. Because the spiritual body has all the facilities for eating, for sleeping, for working, for traveling, for thinking. That spiritual body is fully enlightened. Spiritual body means no ignorance. no death, no misery, no suffering, no ignorance, no growth, no development. Spiritual body is eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. Only for the time being in this material world, our spiritual body is covered and lying in a dormant condition. Dormant means it is inactive, it's not active. So we are chanting Hare Krishna, that is gradually awakening that spiritual body. Spiritual body is being awakened. That's why we say, hear this Hare Krishna mantra sound, a spiritual sound you hear. You hear this Bhagavatam. Gradually your spiritual body will awaken. And as your spiritual body awakens, this should happen before death comes. So you chant nicely, you take prasadam, you have darshan of Krishna and Balaram, you pray, you worship, you do some seva in the temple. All these activities are awakening your spiritual body. So when your spiritual body is awakened, no need for this material body. If your spiritual body is awakened before you die, before you quit this body, leave this body, then you can live a spiritual life even while in this world, still while the material body is still there. You become completely aloof from the material body. It is just like a person. Whatever the dress the person may wear, he can do his activities. Because activities are not dependent upon the dress. It's like a doctor. Generally, a doctor in a hospital will have a doctor's coat and uniform. Suppose you go to the doctor's house. He is not in his hospital dress. But does it mean that a doctor cannot treat you? Cannot examine you? No, he can do it. In any dress he is there, he can examine you. He can hear you. He can recommend some medicine. Similarly, a devotee whose spiritual body is developed can act spiritually even though this material body is still there. He doesn't have to act materially. So therefore, the scriptures recommend to practice Krishna consciousness and conquer this repetition of birth and death. Because if you don't prepare yourself by spiritual practice, you're going to leave this body at the end of life and you're going to get another material body. Of course, that new body will not have the disadvantages of the old age and disease and all that immediately. The new body is there, it's not immediately diseased or old or weak like that. But that body also is subject to disease, old age, death in course of time. The spiritual body, no death, no disease, no old age. Ever youthful, ever enlightened, knowledgeable. So that body, spiritual body, is what scriptures are telling us to develop that spiritual body, which is already there. It's not something new you have to get. So therefore, Prabhupada says, one should not fear death. How do you become free from this fear of death? by becoming Krishna conscious. By becoming Krishna conscious, you become enlightened, that you know I am not this body. You know this body is changing. You know that the body is going to come to an end. I have to leave this body someday. And when you are Krishna conscious, you are ready to leave the body whenever it is required to leave the body. And then after leaving this body, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. Krishna says you don't have to again enter another material body. Punarjanma na eti. You don't again accept another material body. You go to Krishna in spiritual body. You can go to Krishna Loka only in spiritual body. You cannot go in this material body. Material body means you have to again take birth in the material world. Spiritual body means no need to take birth again in the material world. You go to spiritual world, Krishna Loka. So that is what Krishna is teaching in the Bhagavad Gita. And that's what Vasudeva is trying to tell Kamsa. Don't be afraid of death. Death is sure. So whether death is going to come immediately or death may come after hundreds of years, death is certain. Death cannot be avoided. And sinful activities means we are going to immediately die. We are bringing death closer. We got a certain lifespan. Everybody, there's a lifespan. But that lifespan is reduced if somebody becomes very, very sinful. Like Kamsa is about to commit a very, very ghastly sin, killing his own sister. So Vasudeva is trying to tell him, become sober. Don't do this heinous sinful activity. That will be very, very bad for you. So we will hear more how Vasudeva finally was successful in stopping Kamsa from immediately killing Deva. So now I'm going to speak something about